Hey there, my name is Darren, and for those of you watching, you probably know who I am because most of the people that are going to see this are going to know who I am. And today I'm going to tell you my story of why I am where I am, why I quit my job, what am I doing with my life, and where am I headed, and the reason why I'm even recording this video, and I'm planning to start a YouTube channel and basically all of that. So. Today, I'm going to introduce to you what exactly I am doing in the Canary Islands. Most of you that know me probably knew that I studied and worked in London. Well, not anymore. A lot has happened in between, and me posting this video really marks the beginning of a new journey. A journey towards the life that I'm trying to build. And I'm going to tell you my story up until now and answer why I would leave everything that I was working towards behind me. Now, I was born in Norway, but I've moved around a lot in my life. When I was 9, I moved to the Netherlands for around 5 years, and after I came back to Norway, I spent 2 years in Norway, and then I moved to California for a year, and then I spent another 2 years in Norway, and the first year was probably the most fun I ever had. I was Rus, which I'll never forget, and you can look that up. And the year after, I was something called Krampe, and I'm not going to go into detail about that. But regardless, after that year, in 2018, I moved to London and started my bachelor's. And this is where things start, to get kind of exciting, because I spent the first year socializing, having fun. But at some point, I had this crazy experience where I was reflecting about my life, and for the first time, I heard another voice in my head. And that voice wasn't mine. It was this other Darren, this psychologist Darren, and he was telling me like, "Hey, Darren, if you want to make changes, if you want to achieve the things that you want to achieve, you're gonna have to make a lot of changes." And at first, I resisted. I didn't really want to make those changes. I kept arguing with myself. I said, "No, I don't want to give that up." But it ended up with me making a compromise, which in turn meant that now I actually started improving my life little by little, step by step after that whole ordeal. Now at this stage, I was actually improving my life. Good things started to come into my life. I started to do good at university compared to my first year. I got a job working as a sales assistant, for this pet fashion company, and things really started to go my way. And now we're in February, March-ish, and COVID hit, and the world literally just went to shit. And I lived alone in this little studio, but it was here that I had the most growth. At this stage, I really started to take responsibility for my life. Anyways, moving into my final year in university, it was a big year. I was writing my dissertation, I was elected president of the business society, and I was also working full time. And I absolutely smashed it that year. See, I graduated with a first-class honors. I did a great job managing the company and closing deals and sales since I was working sales. And together with my society, we won multiple awards, and we were even nominated for a lot of other awards as well. And look, I got the promotion that I wanted. I became the chief operating officer with a chief executive officer title and shares in the company up for grabs next. But it still just didn't fulfill me. I didn't feel good. Something inside me was rotten. I wasn't really present. I wasn't really Darren. And despite what I reflected outwards into the world, it wasn't me. And it's eerie, because a few months earlier, I made this video and I said this. There is an idea of Darren, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity. Something illusory. And though I can hide my cold gaze, and you can shake my hand and feel flesh gripping yours, and maybe you can even sense our lifestyles are probably comparable, I simply am not there. Now, because of my declining performance on all fronts of life, despite maybe work, which was the only thing I could really cling to, I had to protect the parts that I didn't uphold. You see, I identified success with my name. Dress well, get that promotion, do your habits, don't give up, stay strong, feel good, uh, focus on your future, right? Like, it just got so bad that I wasn't honest to people, not even my closest friends or family. I was pretending to be a character that was defined by my role, by my responsibilities, and a few other factors. And one of them was actually my morning routine, which, and all routines really. But I spoke so highly of them, right? Cold shower, meditation, push-ups, the list goes on. It took me 3 hours a day from 6 a.m. in the morning until 9. And if I didn't do it one day, I would not tell anyone. In worst case, I'd lie and say I did it. Why? Because in my head, that's who I was. And I had to protect it at all costs. And you know, the worst part is, actually it's the funniest part, I could say, because this really applies to a lot of us, to some extent at least, I don't know. It's that we fight to keep an image of ourselves that no one really cares about except us. Like, do you ever catch yourself doing something and then realizing, like, wait, who am I doing this for? Yeah. Anyways, I was feeling really lost and just, yeah, overall low internally. And I started to look for ways out, you know. Now, part of me was always going to become an entrepreneur and start my own business, but I just forgot about it, you know. Like, I never really spent any time on it. In the past, I did. But at some point, I remember I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and I said, hey, look, I don't really feel so good, man. I don't know what to do. I'm not feeling this job. It's a little fly here. I told him, like, look, I'm not really feeling this job. I'm not feeling good. You know, I feel lost. And he gave me one piece of advice, something that radically changed my perspective, my direction in life, and really my focus, actually. He said, lock yourself in the bathroom for 48 hours. Only bring with you a pen, a notebook, a list of questions, some bed sheets, a pillow, and food, and water, and that's it. And I was reluctant at first. I'm like, wait, what? I said, I don't really know, man. I kind of have this dinner planned with my friends on Saturday, and I was going to meet someone else the day after. I told him, like, yeah, maybe not a good idea. I'll push it to next weekend, you know, why not? And he pushed me. He was like, hey, trust me, you have a lot of emotions now. You need to keep this momentum. Like, if you don't, you know, you're just not going to get the same results. And despite how funny and strange I found it, I also kind of liked the idea. I liked the idea of, like, pushing yourself to this extreme to discover something about yourself. So I did it, and I committed to it. I went into my bathroom, and I spent 48 hours from Saturday morning until Monday morning. And I came out a changed man. And, you know, when I say changed man, it's not like I was a totally different person, but I had direction. I knew what I wanted in life. I knew what I wanted to achieve. And things were more clear. I had a northern star, if you may, that I could follow. I could look up in the sky and be like, okay, this is where I gotta go. This is what I gotta do. And in hindsight, honestly, this was the decisive action that really stood between true change in my life or a slow path to failure, which, of course, I didn't realize at the time. Now, I handed in my notice the first week back for work. I said, after the summer, I'm out. And I stayed true to it. So, you know, now I'm going to be gone. And I have to admit, though, my ego, it actually, after this whole experience, it still had a strong pull on me. My excuse to keep a lot of the bad habits and that feeling was like, I'm going to change, you know. I was moving away. I only have a few months left of this version of me. And so, like, I allowed myself to be in that state. Regardless, now that the summer is over, and I have officially moved to the Canary Islands, where I will live for the next 6 months, building up myself, building up my business, you know, where the goal of the business is, of course, to make a living off so that I'm stable. I don't need an employer to give me money and be like, hey, here's food on the table. Like, I can provide that. I took a leap of faith, and I forced my ego into a point of no return and only growth. My ego is not comfortable anymore. He is out of his comfort zone and has been exposed. And my hope is to make him into an ally, someone that I can trust to make the right choice and guide me. Because without an ego, and this really is universal, without an ego, we would never be able to mediate between our desires and our beliefs and values. And that's true, because, if you know a little bit about the ego, this is true. But yeah, I've been here a month now, and I've settled in, and I have started my business. Things are going smooth. Of course, there are challenges, I'm not gonna lie. And my coach, who I am incredibly grateful for, he's been pushing me and he's been challenging me in ways that I didn't know was possible. And I don't say this lightly, but he has witnessed some of the toughest decisions that I have made in my life. And he stood by me. I mean, the guy is essentially an idealized version of myself. He's a family man. He loves helping people, and he's built and exited a 7, 8, and 9-figure business. So, man, if you're watching this, thank you, coach. Thank you. But yeah, if you haven't thought of the question that I have, at least here in my head, I'm going to raise it and answer it. So why are you on YouTube, and what do you hope to accomplish? Well, that's a good question. I've actually wanted to do this for quite some time, YouTube at least, and the timing just never seemed right for me, up until now. So, now I did. And I'm doing this for several reasons. So the first is I hope to educate people. More specifically, I want to teach people about the small habits that they can implement into their lives to feel better, to do better, to perform better, and just increase their overall well-being. The second reason is to inspire growth. I think that society today is just growing weaker and weaker, and especially men. And I myself have fallen for some of the modern traps that really were just made to imprison my soul and my drive. And through my channel, I hope to see more people succeed in their own domain and conquer their weaknesses and acquire new virtues. I genuinely want to also help people become better versions of themselves. That's my goal. And finally, I want to track my progress and keep myself accountable. I think a part of what also stopped my growth was my ego. I think, now I'm forced to figure out how to conquer it, I'm here, I'm alone, no one else is to blame, And look, I still have vices that I'm fighting hard against, and it's the battle towards the good that I'm going to document. Showing you exactly how you can also become a better version of yourself, slowly improving your life step by step and giving you the tools to succeed. Because trust me when I say this, I have tried a lot, and I keep testing the best practices in terms of thinking, exercise, work, and just overall habits that anyone, really anyone, can implement into their lives and just improve their lives, right? Shia LaBeouf once said, don't let your dreams be dreams, Don't get caught up in someone's temporary success or in some temporary success and make that your life, right? So, yeah, that's the reason. And you can also expect me to post around once a month to give an update on my progress. And mind you, I will be fully transparent of my challenges. I'm documenting on a daily basis what is holding me back the most, my distractions, my struggles, and most importantly, how I overcome them. And in return, how you could potentially overcome similar challenges, right? So yeah, if you've made it to the end, thank you for watching. I hope you follow my journey. And if you do, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And until next time, peace.